Are you thinking of buying a home in 2025? The market is changing and navigating the process can feel overwhelming. In this video, I'm going to break down everything you need to know step by step so you can buy your home with confidence. You're going to learn how to check your finances, get pre-approved, find a home, make an offer, and close the deal. The first step is you want to check your finances, aka know what you can afford. Before you even start looking at homes, you really need to understand your financial position. You don't want to fall in love with a home that you can't afford or get denied for a mortgage. The first thing you want to do is check your credit score. Your credit score partly determines whether you qualify for a mortgage and what your interest rate could be. Typically, a higher score means a lower interest rate, and a lower interest rate means a lower monthly payment. Your FICO score is what lenders use when determining your mortgage eligibility. The credit score you see on Credit Karma or similar sites may be different from your FICO score. The typical minimum credit score needed for a conventional loan is around 620, but some lenders may require 660 or higher. For an FHA loan, you need a 580 credit score or better for a 3.5% down payment. But if your score is between 500 and 579, you'll need a 10% down payment. The USDA loan doesn't have a standard minimum credit score, but typically 640 or higher is recommended. The VA loan has no official minimum, but 620 or more is commonly recommended. One thing to note is that each lender has different requirements known as overlays. Even if a government-backed loan allows a lower credit score, a lender might require a higher one. This is why it's important to shop around for different lenders to see which one works best for your situation. Some ways to improve your credit before applying for a mortgage include making on-time payments for all bills, especially credit cards and loans, and lowering your credit utilization by keeping balances under 30% of your total credit limit. You also want to avoid opening new credit accounts or closing old accounts right before applying. Another important factor in getting a mortgage is your debt-to-income ratio, or DTI. DTI is a percentage of your monthly income that goes toward debt payments. This includes monthly credit card minimum payments, car loans, student loans, personal loans, and your future mortgage payment. DTI doesn't include expenses like your electric bill, phone bill, or groceries. Lenders use DTI to determine if you can handle a mortgage payment. Here's how to calculate it. Let's say you make $5,000 a month, and your total monthly debt payments, including your estimated house payment, are $1,800. You would divide $1,800 by 5,000, multiply by 100, and you get a 36% DTI. DTI limits vary by loan type. For a conventional loan, lenders typically want a DTI of 45% or lower. FHA loans allow up to 57% with compensating factors like a higher credit score and cash reserves. The USDA loan typically requires a 41% DTI, though with strong credit and compensating factors, it may go up to 44%. The VA loan has no strict limit, but 41% is a common benchmark. If your DTI is too high, you should focus on paying down debts before applying. Paying off a car loan or making extra payments on credit cards to lower monthly minimums can make a big difference. You'll also need to start saving for your down payment. The amount you need depends on the type of loan. USDA and VA loans have a 0% down payment requirement. Conventional loans may require as little as 3% down, though 20% avoids private mortgage insurance, or PMI. PMI is mortgage insurance that protects the lender if you default on the loan. Even though conventional loans traditionally required 20% down, that's not the case anymore. Many buyers put down 10% or less. For an FHA loan, you'll need 3.5% down if your credit score is 580 or better. If your credit score is between 500 and 579, you'll need 10% down. You'll also need to save for closing costs, which typically range from 2 to 6% of the home price. I'm giving a wide range because closing costs include many factors like the cost of insurance, property taxes, and HOA fees. If you live in an area with low taxes, low insurance costs, and no HOA, you might be closer to 2%. Your lender can give you a good estimate of how much you'll need for closing costs. You'll also want to have money set aside for a home inspection and an escrow deposit or earnest money deposit. The amount needed for escrow varies, so definitely consult with your real estate agent to see what makes the most sense for your situation. It's always great to have an emergency fund. The general recommendation is to keep 3 to 6 months of expenses saved. This isn't realistic for everyone, but having some savings things before buying a home is smart because unexpected expenses come up. Now that you have your finances in check, the next step is to get pre-approved for a mortgage. A pre-approval shows how much home you can afford and makes you a serious buyer in the eyes of a seller. To get pre-approved, you'll typically need proof of income such as pay stubs, W-2s, tax returns, or 1099s. Your lender may also call your employer to verify your employment. You'll also want to provide bank statements to show proof of down payment and reserves. Your credit will be checked, and it is a hard pull, so it may affect your credit score. Next, you'll want to find a real estate agent. A real estate agent helps you find homes, negotiate deals, and handles the paperwork involved in buying a home. You can find a real estate agent by looking at online reviews or asking friends and family members for recommendations. You want someone who has experience and is knowledgeable about the market. If you need help finding a real estate agent in your area, go to my website, workwithdang.com. I also have a bunch of free resources like a home buyer guide and free home buyers course. If you're unsure about which agent to pick, you can sign a buyer's agreement for just one home or for a short period of time. Then it's time to start house hunting, the fun part. Some key factors to consider include location. What's the commute like? What schools are they zoned for? How's the crime in the area? What does the future growth of the area look like? You'll also want to decide what type of home you're looking to buy, whether it's a condo, townhome, single-family home, or if you're focusing on new construction. Most importantly, you want to stay within your budgeted amount, which is not necessarily your pre-approval amount. When you're pre-approved by a lender, they give you the maximum amount you can afford. Typically, you don't want to go that high. That's why it's good to have a budget already figured out. You should also pay close attention to property taxes and anything that could make your home insurance more expensive, like being in a flood zone. As of the fourth quarter of 2024, the national median home price is approximately $419,000, reflecting about a 2% decrease from the first quarter of 2024. One thing to know about real estate is that it is hyper-local. Some areas have experienced major increases while others may not have increased at all, or maybe even decreased. That's why it's important to analyze the market to understand what's happening in your area. If you're working with a real estate agent, they can help you understand market trends, which is important when making an offer and negotiating. Once you find a home that you like, you can make an offer and negotiate. Some key things to know when making an offer include the purchase price, the earnest money deposit, and negotiating contingencies like an inspection, financing, and appraisal. If a home has been on the market for a while, you may be able to negotiate more. You could even negotiate closing costs, have the seller cover the buyer's agent commission, or have them buy down your interest rate. Currently, the 30-year fixed mortgage rate is around 6.5% to 7%. Some forecasts predict a gradual decline, but rates are expected to remain above 6% throughout 2025. Once your offer is accepted, you'll move on to the home inspection and appraisal. Before finalizing the purchase, you need to ensure that the home is in good condition and that the lender confirms the home's value matches the loan amount. A home inspection is typically done by an inspector who evaluates the home's condition and looks for potential problems. You'll receive a detailed report outlining any needed repairs, safety hazards, or structural concerns. If the inspection reveals problems, you can negotiate repairs with the seller. You get asked for seller concessions to cover repair costs or to lower the purchase price. If the issues are serious, you can walk away. This is why it's important to have an inspection contingency in your offer. Something to keep in mind is that your inspector is human and they can't find everything. Use the inspection as a general guide. If you're still interested in the home, check with your lender to see if there are any required repairs needed for the loan to close. Then there's the appraisal. A licensed appraiser determines the home's fair market value based on comparable sales in the area. Your lender will require an appraisal to ensure they aren't loaning more money than the home is worth. The appraiser also checks the home's condition. With certain loan types like USDA, VA, and FHA, the appraisal process may be a little stricter. For example, chip paint can sometimes be an issue for these loans. If the appraisal comes in lower than your offer price, you have several options. You could negotiate the price with the seller, bring extra cash to closing to cover the difference, challenge the appraisal, though this varies by location, or cancel the deal if you included an appraisal contingency in your contract. Once the inspection and appraisal are complete, you'll move on to the final mortgage approval and closing process. During underwriting, the lender does a final review of your finances to ensure and nothing has changed since pre-approval. The title company will also conduct a title search to confirm that the home has no legal claims or liens against it. Some things that can delay your approval include opening new credit accounts, changing jobs, making large unexplained bank deposits, or taking on new debt like car loans or personal loans. You want to keep your finances stable between pre-approval and closing. Any sudden changes could derail your loan. Before closing, you'll conduct a final walkthrough, usually 24 to 48 hours before closing. I usually request to see the home as soon as the seller has fully moved out or mostly moved out so we can check for any last-minute issues. Then I do a final walkthrough right before heading to the closing table. The goal is to ensure that the home is in the same condition as when you made the offer. At closing, you'll review and sign all legal documents, including the closing disclosure, which breaks down all the final costs, the loan agreement outlining the mortgage terms, and title transfer documents. Once everything is signed and processed, the lender funds the loan. You get the keys to your new home. Once you close on your home, there are a few things you should do immediately. First, change the locks for security. You don't know how many copies of the keys might be floating around from the previous owner, contractors, or real estate agents. Keep your closing documents in a safe place. Nowadays, you typically get a PDF file, so it's a good idea to start a homeowner folder on your computer where you keep all of your important home-related documents. If you receive physical copies, consider getting a fireproof safe or an organized filing system. You may need these documents for tax purposes or if you ever decide to refinance or sell the home. Now that you're a homeowner, you'll also want to understand how home equity works. As you pay down your mortgage and its home values increase, you build equity. Home equity can be used for things like home improvements, debt consolidation, or even as a financial safety net. However, be careful when using your home's equity. Taking out too much can put you at risk if home values drop. And honestly, I really wouldn't recommend touching your home equity, but there are times where it might make sense. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you've gotten any value from this video. It helps me out a lot.